Imagine this. You're standing in front of a 3,000-year-old mummy, wrapped head to toe in linen, perfectly preserved through the centuries. But behind those bandages lies something more than a preserved corpse. It's the story of an entire civilization's beliefs, science, rituals, and hopes for the afterlife. Welcome to Ontological Questions, where today we're unraveling one of the most fascinating practices in human history, ancient Egyptian mummification. It's not just about scary movie monsters or museum relics. It's a story about life, death, and what comes after. To truly understand mummification, we have to begin with a question the ancient Egyptians were obsessed with. What happens after we die? For them, death wasn't an end. It was a transition, a journey into another realm. They believed in an afterlife where the soul, or Ka, would live on, but it couldn't do so without a preserved body. That body wasn't just symbolic, it was practical. The spirit needed it to recognize and inhabit after death. Without a body, the soul would be lost. So, mummification wasn't vanity. It wasn't just for pharaohs. It was a spiritual necessity, and the Egyptians developed one of the most advanced and meticulous body-preserving techniques in history to make it happen. Now, here's the big question. How do you stop a body from decomposing? 3,000 years ago, no freezers, no formaldehyde, the secret, salt. More specifically, a natural salt mixture called natron, a blend of sodium carbonate and sodium bicarbonate in dry lake beds across Egypt. Natron was which means it absorbs moisture. Think of those little silica packets you find in shoeboxes. Today's same principle. By removing moisture, they created an environment where bacteria, those tiny agents of decay, couldn't survive. Natron was also mildly antibacterial, making it the perfect natural preservative. Bodies were immersed in nitron for about 35 days, essentially a salt bath that sucked out every drop of moisture. This was the foundation of mummification. But the process didn't stop there. In fact, it was only just beginning. Once the body was dehydrated, embalmers turned to the organs. The brain, being soft and full of fluid, decomposed quickly, so it had to go. Here's the shocking part. They removed the brain through the nose using a hooked tool. The embalmers inserted it up the nostril, broke down the brain tissue, and carefully extracted it. No scalpels, no bone saws, just centuries of practice. Other organs like the liver, stomach, lungs, and intestines were also removed. But not the heart. The Egyptians believed the heart was the seat of intelligence, emotion, and identity. In the afterlife, the heart would be weighed against the feather of truth in the hall of judgment. If it was pure, the soul could proceed. If not, well, eternal doom. The removed organs were then preserved separately in canopic jars, each one dedicated to a specific deity and filled with natron. These jars weren't just containers, they were sacred. After the internal organs were removed, the body was more or less hollow. But they didn't leave it like that. The next step was to rebuild. They carefully cleaned the body cavity and then packed it with linen and natron, both to maintain dryness and to restore a natural, lifelike shape. In a way, they were sculpting the dead, preparing the body as a sacred vessel for the soul's return. Once that was complete, they began the most iconic step of all. The wrapping. Hollywood often gets this part wrong. The bandages weren't just randomly wrapped on. The wrapping process was methodical, artistic, and deeply spiritual. Hundreds of yards of linen were used, sometimes over the course of several weeks. Each finger, each toe, each limb was wrapped individually. They added padding in specific places to maintain a natural appearance. In between the layers, they placed amulets and charms, spiritual armor for the afterlife. They also infused the wrappings with resins and perfumes. This wasn't just for preservation, it was symbolic, an offering of beauty and protection to the gods. In the end, the body didn't just look preserved, it looked sacred. Fast forward to today, these ancient mummies aren't just museum displays, they're time capsules. With modern technology like CT scans, DNA extraction, and forensic analysis, scientists are uncovering incredible insights. We've learned that diseases like heart disease and arthritis were surprisingly common. We've found clues about diet, social class, even genetic heritage. Some DNA studies have challenged our assumptions about where ancient Egyptians came from and how connected they were with neighboring civilizations. Far from isolated, they were part of a thriving, interconnected ancient world. Through their preservation, we're literally rewriting history. And we can't talk about mummification without mentioning Anubis, the jackal-headed god. Anubis wasn't just symbolic. In rituals, the chief embalmer would wear a mask of Anubis, channeling his presence. Anubis was the guardian of the dead, the protector of the body, and the guide through the afterlife. His role underscored how sacred the process truly was. So the next time you see a mummy, don't just see linen and bones. See the legacy of human ingenuity, spiritual belief, and the timeless desire to conquer death. Mummification wasn't just a ritual, it was a statement. We are more than this life. We are preparing for what comes next. And here's something to ponder: if you are about to embark on your eternal journey, and you could take just one item with you into the afterlife. What would it be? Think about that. Because in the end, exploring ancient Egyptian mummification isn't just about the past, it's about what we value most, even beyond death. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the world of ancient Egypt, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you don't miss future explorations into history, science, and the mysteries of human belief. Got a question or theory about mummies or the afterlife? Drop it in the comments, so I'd love to hear it. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay curious.